Hello there, wrestling fans! Welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I'm your host, Joe the Panther, the third, and now I have a guest with me. Introduce yourself.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Juniper Gates, but a number of people also call me the Vaporwave Vixen. I've been wrestling all throughout the Midwest, and my reach goes as far as from Nebraska to New Jersey. So I'm excited to be here tonight.
Awesome. So, who trained you?
So I've gone through a number of trainers. My first set I won't even mention because with the experience I have, I realized they shouldn't have been training people, so not even worth dropping their name. Then I spent some time out at House of Truth in Detroit. And finally, in 2022, I settled in Indianapolis, and I've been training under Schwartzy and Anthony Lee ever since.
Awesome. So from the trainers you had, what kind of advice did you have that did they gave you that you brought into your career in the ring?
A lot of it is just being myself, really finding out who I am, and being able to train under different people with different styles has allowed me to kind of adapt things to who I am. So with what I do, it's something you don't see from other people, so it's unique.
Awesome. Is there any other place in the country or the world that you would like to travel to that you haven't been to yet?
I would love to wrestle on the West Coast. I think that'd be really fun just to be able to say I've been basically from coast to coast. I'd love to wrestle in Japan. I've actually been watching a lot of Joshi wrestling recently. Just the strong style seems really interesting. I don't know, just wherever the wind takes me. Everything I've done so far in wrestling I've been really grateful for. Wonderful opportunities, including this weekend. I'll actually be wrestling at the National Cannabis Festival, so I'm super stoked for that, honestly.
Awesome. Is there any wrestlers that you've been wanting to wrestle that you haven't wrestled? Like you have a list yet?
Kind of slowly developing a list. Fortunately, there have been a number of wrestlers I've been able to wrestle who are, really top tier. Like I've wrestled Randy West a few times. I've been able to actually wrestle Thunder Kitty. I've wrestled Schwartzy. So I've been able to wrestle like quality opponents. I guess if I were looking like shooting for the moon, my two biggest names would probably be Mickie James before she retires, or for Joshi wrestlers, Ryo Mizunami. I just like her colorful demeanor, and I feel like with her over the top personality, we'd have a fun match.
Awesome. Is there any style match that you would be like if a promo came out to you and was like, "Yeah, we want you to do this tonight"? You're like, not really."
I would have to say deathmatch wrestling. I respect people who do it. Like I say, I've wrestled around Schwartzy, Randy West, Thunder Kitty, Hoodfoot. So I've seen a number of death matches. I've patched up a number of my friends after death matches. Just that's not how I wish to, I guess, express my art through wrestling. But my hat's off to all those who do.
Awesome. Um, if is there anything that you collect outside of wrestling?
Not currently, but one hobby I've been wanting to get back into is doing glass art. So I've made glass beads, glass pendants, and a few glass Christmas ornaments. It's just kind of fun playing with something we're used to seeing in like a solid form, and it's about the consistency of molasses, and you're dealing with the 2,000-degree flames. So,
Awesome. Is uh, if there was a young male or female uh a young wrestling fan that is out there watching right now, what kind of advice would you give them?
um, honestly, the best thing I can suggest is live your life the way you want to, as long as you aren't harming other people. Because at the end of the day, there are going to be a lot of people who you think aren't going to care that do. There are going to be people that you think care that don't. And realistically, at the end of the day, you're going to be a lot happier with who you are if you decided to follow your heart and, go for your dreams. Really, the only thing I really wish I could change in my life is I wish I could have gotten into wrestling sooner. Because that fear kind of held me back. As a trans woman, you just never know. But honestly, the wrestling scene as a whole has been really encouraging and inclusive.
Awesome. Do you have any stories from the road or the ring that you want to share with us tonight?
Um, just a lot of little ones. I guess the biggest one that comes to mind is I was pulled over in Iowa driving 90 miles an hour without a license.
Boy.
So it was the show in Nebraska I wrestled. It was last August. And I went with two other people. They knew I didn't have a license at the time, and they were going to take turns driving because we all had bookings back in our part of the Midwest, the Great Lakes region. So we knew we'd be driving all night, and the person who was set to take the first shift of driving ended up deciding to drink and passed out in the passenger seat. So the other person was already asleep, and I was just kind of a bit pissed off at that point. So I'm like, well, I might not have a license, but I know how to drive. So I drove for about 4 hours. And honestly, I wasn't speeding or doing anything dubious. I was just starting to get tired. And I was like, I don't really want to pull over into the shadows of, an Iowa shoulder. I want to go to a Love's or a TA or somewhere, well lit to rest. And so I started speeding a bit because I was getting tired. And suddenly I saw the berries and cherries. And the first thing that came to mind was, oh, fuck, I'm going to jail.
Oh, jeez.
So I pull over. The officer asks for license and registration. I give him my state ID. He looks up and down, and he's like, I said, driver's license? I said, I don't have one, actually. So he just looks at me, and he's like, suspended? And I'm like, no, I've had a weird run of relationships previously, and I explained to him the situation. We're all just wrestlers trying to get to our next job, basically. And he was nice enough to ask my name and pronouns because they didn't match what was on my ID at the time. And so he was really respectful. And in the end, he's like, hey, you realistically could have gone to jail. And I'm like, yeah, I know, especially because I didn't tell him about it, but especially because we all had, cannabis on us. So we got really lucky. He only ended up writing me a ticket for driving without a license. And he said, because even if I had a license at 90 miles an hour, it was reckless driving, and he would have had to take me in. So I'm like, it was kind of the best possible outcome out of a shitty situation. And I managed to just make my booking the following day and had a pretty decent match with Ari Alexander.
I have no other questions. Thank you so much for doing this podcast with me. And doing it this way instead of on the StreamYard style, because right now I'm trying to work on that. I'm Joe Panther III. Your turn.
My name's Juniper Gates, and I've had a lot of fun here.
I can't wait to have you back on when I get the situation knocked out. And we will catch you in the next one.